matter where you are, like when you're producing, like you have your own particular and unique sound. And in a time and day and age when a lot of people unfortunately are sounding the same, the world has gotten smaller because of social media. So it's not like a regional sound like it used to be. You can get a sound from the West Coast if you live over here where I live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Just because of social media. How describe what it's like to have your own sound and how do you like kind of get your own sound? What would be your advice to a young musician that would like to know that?
Okay. Wow. That's a good, because you don't know how good of a question that is, because a lot of people don't really have conversations on sound for
Mm-hmm.
real. Like your sound, what's your whole sound? And for me, I'll tell you what I did as far as well, when I was younger, I prayed to the Lord, and I believe that God will grant you the desires of your hearts. I
Yeah.
believe the word when it says that. I literally prayed to God and said, Lord, no matter what I do, please don't let me sound like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Please let me have my own sound.
Mm-hmm.
I literally prayed that as like a 10-year-old boy,
Oh wow. Wow.
and he gave it to me. He connect the dots in my head. Um, what I would say to young musicians is when it comes to developing a sound, you got to spend time with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to spend time. You have to create your sound and spend time in practice, like perfecting your sound. You know, I think a lot of people they want the microwave, like, show me this, show me that. Like, can you show me how to do this? No, work it out, because that's how you
Mm-hmm.
build your sound, when you
Yeah.
work it out. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, go to battle with your piano, go to battle with your bass, go to
Mm-hmm.
battle with your instrument, whatever it may be. Like, get on the drums and play this one idea that you have in your head slow, instead of looking up how to do somebody else's chop. You
Mm-hmm.
take the same time to do that, but you have a cool chop idea in your head that
Yeah.
wasn't influenced by nobody, but because you see somebody else got more views, you going to
Mm-hmm.
go learn that chop.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, 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 no. Get off of social media. Don't post your practice. First off, a lot of people post in practice and it's not practice. They just
Yeah.
playing,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, practice is a whole serious thing. Like, if I'm practicing, like, if matter of fact, if you don't see me on social media, I'm practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm practicing. Like, I'm not on social media. That's a big part of building your sound. Getting that time alone, away from people. That's the only way you're gonna build your sound. And I don't mean people in the sense of not being antisocial, but I mean musically. Like, instead of feeding yourself with too much of what's popular, feed yourself with your a bunch of your different influences that you like. Ingest
Yeah.
them all and learn them all, so that when you play, they're all a part of you and they create your sound. And they can only be your influences if you like them. So whatever you like is going to help create your sound. So listen to something that is what you want to be, or what you think you are, just on a better level than you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever sound that you gravitate towards, find the groups or the people or musicians you look up to that have that sound that you kind of already naturally have, but they're doing it on a better level. Do
Right.
that, study them. That helps to keep your sound within the confines of what it's supposed to be. Not confines, but you start to develop the maturity of your sound, because you're listening to somebody with something that you like and desire, and is like something that you would do if you had the ability to do it at that time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how also I like see sound building. That's what I did. Like, I love McCoy Tyner, like he is just so amazing. Like I wish I could do half of what he did, but I studied him enough to know, like, kind of, I know how he moves enough,
Yeah.
uh, to where I can at least use it to benefit to create my own sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel like, that's one of the beginning processes to, you know, getting your own sound and
Yeah.
keeping it and making it come across too. Well, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what situation you're in, that's another thing
Oh
that's hard
yeah.
to do.
Oh
Being
yeah.
musical.
Yeah, yeah, that's priceless advice right there. Like, because honestly, I feel like a lot of people, young and old, do struggle to find their own sound, especially when you're on social media all day and you hear all these different people that you look up to. You just try to kind of become a carbon copy, but it's always best to be able to, find your own sound and take the time to develop it. So
Absolutely.
that's really great advice.
Finding your own sound. You take a little from here, you take a little from there, and you kind of just, it's a conglomerate of all of what you hear. And you gotta put the time in. That's the thing. You can't be lazy. Like, you gotta put time in. You gotta put work in. You gotta. I've known so many naturally talented musicians that can just play. Like, I mean, could just flat out play, but they hit that roof, and then
Hmm.
they stop there. It's no push to keep going. It's no, well, I can naturally play anyway, so there's no studying, there's no shedding, there's no listening to music, and it's like, and it's sad because that potential could be so great, it could go so far, but kind of get lazy, and just accept well, I can already play. But yeah, it's like, yeah, but it's music is always evolving. Music is I mean, it's then you don't want to get locked into being just a church musician. You
Sure.
never
Yep.
want to get locked in just to being a church musician. You want to be able to play church, but you
Hmm.
want to be able to, you need to listen to jazz, listen to R&B, just listen to the approach that they have.
Hmm.
I did a song. I was blessed to play for Jonathan Nelson, like another amazing, amazing singer,
Yep.
songwriter, and just
Absolutely.
and just all around guy. Like, that's my guy. And there's a song called "I Believe," and it's
Yeah.
it's a Caribbean type song.
Yep.
And when I heard that song, when Kenny Sheldon, another a phenomenal
Yeah. He's
producer
incredible.
and keyboard player, when I heard that song, I said, I can't approach this song like I'm playing a congregational song. Like, you can't approach it that way.
Hmm.
You gotta study. I started listening. I mean, I've been listening to reggae, but I would research. I listened to Bob Marley, and I've listened to Caribbean, just like Afro-Cuban music, and you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, just world music, just to see their approach. Because it's a total different approach. You got to have a
Yeah,
different
for
way of
sure.
playing. So you got to listen to. I'll tell young musicians, listen to everything, study everything. Country, listen to bluegrass, listen to blues, listen to jazz, and you can take little things from each of those and make it your sound. Another thing I had to learn how to take correction.
Hmm.
Man, learn how to take correction. We live in the time now, the information age. These young musicians are so advanced. Like, they're so gifted. They're so amazing at, dude, the young guy from South Africa, Dominic McNabb, the stuff that dude can do on drums. I don't think he's 9. I think he's 9.
Yeah,
But
he's
I
crazy.
posted him. Man, the stuff that dude can do on drums is unreal. And he's not even strong yet. He's
Hmm.
not even
Yeah,
15 where he can, like, really just, hit.
yeah.
That kid, I think he's maybe 10. And but they're so advanced and they're so young. And then they gotta sit in a church where the minister of music is isn't as advanced as they are.
Hmm.
So it's like they gotta man, I can play better than this dude, but I got to listen to him. I got to do what he says. And it's like, it's all about the process. It's the process of this man or this woman has been playing, serving under this ministry. They didn't come up in the YouTube era, but they have experience, they have knowledge, they have wisdom in what they're doing. You being humble enough to listen, just learn to listen. Learning what not to do is just as important as learning what to do. You know what I'm saying?
True.
You're not going to agree with everything you do. You're going to hear me like, I wouldn't do it that way. But just learn to listen. I mean, give your feedback, be respectful, but learn to have a listening ear.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to have a listening ear, because I learned, like, reproof never feels good. It never feels like I came up under Rudy and Eddie Moore and Damien, like them guys, they was brutal. They was like, a lot of these young guys wouldn't be able to make it back then when I was coming up. They wouldn't be able to make it because you got embarrassed. Like, you got embarrassed. And but what that did was it made me go home and work hard to make sure that didn't happen again.
Right.
And because I respected them, because I wanted to be where they are. Like, I wanted to be a musician like them. I wanted to be where they are. I took it. Didn't feel good. It was embarrassing. It was, it wasn't good. But one thing I noticed about them was it was never one-sided. If I did something good, they showed it. They said something about, like, they would woo and they would go crazy. But when I messed up, it's like, hey, so it was equal. It wasn't one-sided. It wasn't just, they cussing me out and stuff like that. But when I did something good, they affirmed me. Right. So, but that's the generation we kind of living in now. Nobody wants to hear nothing negative. Nobody wants to hear no correction. And it's like, you gotta learn to listen to correction and take correction. It's not gonna feel good when you get into correction. But like the scriptures say, in the end, it's gonna yield fruit. You're gonna see, it's like, okay, I see what he was talking about now. I couldn't see when he told me, but now I can see. And like, just learning to have that, putting the talent that they have aside, the knowledge, and just being able to sit under someone and learn and go through the process. And so that way you can be ready when your time comes. So that's what I say. Like, just really learn to have a listening ear, humble yourself, listen, and study.
I would just say, man, just work hard at perfecting your originality. Like, it's cool to pull from other people and other things, but if you don't turn it into you, if it don't become you, then it's kind of, you just kind of, I won't say wasting your time, but you're not really growing from just trying to be what someone else is.
Yeah.
Like, really work hard at your craft to create you.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to pull from others, but you got to really take the time and see not only what they did to become them, but utilize what they did to become them and make it work for you.
Right.
Turn it to into your originality.
Mm-hmm.
Just work hard at it, man, and don't settle. Don't settle for what comes easy.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just say, "Oh, I could do that."
Yeah.
And then later on down the line, you'd be mad at yourself because you hear different, but you can't produce different.
Wow. Okay.
Versus just working hard at that from the beginning.
Right. Right.
And then that way you'll appreciate what you have more than you appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm.
And just don't get discouraged with it not coming as fast as you wanted, or because that's another thing I know a lot of musicians and people do, singers
Definitely.
do. Because it ain't coming fast enough, so they think, oh, this ain't for me.
Right. Yeah.
If you can quit that easy, then it wasn't for you.
Wow. Yeah. That's true.
Being inspired by others is amazing. Like, having that inspiration, listening to Mike and Jason and all them. Like, to me, I feel like I get a combination of everybody when I listen to Jason, Mike,
Yeah.
and people like them. Like, I feel like they all kind of got like they in a Kevin Bond. They all got a similar style, but they all do differ in a way.
That's true.
And so, like, to me, I'm a huge fan of Jason because he just clean. But then you go, Justin Savage is another like clean piano player that I just absolutely, he's amazing. So I just like listening to cats like that. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, I mean, God did make me unique too, different from everybody. So why not take what Lil Quad know or what Andrew know and let me put it with the styles that I've heard before. However, let me not use their sound more so over my sound. You know what I mean? Like, let me still stay quiet, but like, let me take a little piece of what I may, learn from them and put it in my playing a little bit, but I don't want to run with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's great advice. Because we're all influenced, but at the same time, you don't want to turn into a carbon copy and sound exactly.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly like somebody.
I always say your sound is probably think about who you are, like your mom and dad. Like my mom and dad made me. This aspect of me looks like my father, but this other part looks like my mother.
Yeah.
Like you take on the traits of who births you. Mm-hmm. So my sound is a combination of those people who've influenced me. Wow. It's just a mixture. So you add my father. My father taught me to play aux first. So that's why I lean to sounds naturally. Because when I was playing with dad, he was mains. I had to play the strings, the horns. So I naturally hear musically from the sound perspective first, and then I build out from there. And but I'm a combination of my father, D'Angelo, Fred Hammond, Winans. Like if you add all of those together, those components, make up who I am. You know what I mean? Joe Zawinul, when he goes into those lead sounds, and Russ Ferrante, his approach of piano and voicings, and when it comes to Chicorea, his chops, and it's like I take all of those different components. So find one who influences you. I would tell a musician to find your influences and take components of those influences and add them. You don't have to have 100% of one person. Like I'm not 100% Chick. I can't do what he does 100%.
Yeah.
But there's aspects of Chick I got. There's a part of Herbie Hancock got a certain part Chick ain't got. Mm-hmm. Herbie's soul is ridiculous. Like his lead solo on a song he does with Shaka Khan and Dizzy, Nights in Tunisia, is like he does this crazy lead solo. Like there's aspects that I take from different people that become a part of my DNA. Daniel Weatherspoon, Jesus is a Love Song lead solo is like one of the craziest lead solos ever. Like, and so you're an amalgamation of a number of people and things. So you got to ask yourself, find your influences and take parts of those influences to make yourself. You know what I mean? And then you have to ask yourself, what's your strength? Because some of us want to be something we're not, and you'll get very discouraged very fast. Man, I used to hear Mike Burrell and Kevin Bond. I wanted to sound like those guys. I could not grasp that sound.
Don't we all?
And on the way, it was on the way to trying to figure out what they were doing. I was discovering things that was beautiful on the way to trying to sound like that. Yeah. And so I'm like, on my way to sound like Mike Burrell, I found this. Wait, but that's me. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. On the way to trying to sound like Chicorea, I sound this. And I just started adding on, and as I began to add on, and one of the ways you find your sound is by recording. That's how you find it. Like, that's true. I started finding a consistent pattern. Like when I listen back to Tide records now, I'm thinking I'm just doing this now. I'm like, I've been doing this. I've been doing that. These are my go-to type changes. Like me, I'm a 1-3-6-2-5, 1-3-6-2-5-7-3. Oh, my fault. My phone rang.
Yeah.
But I have certain changes I go to that are my go-to movements.
Yeah.
And I start discovering them when I listen to my recordings, when I listen to my arrangement. I start discovering patterns in myself. Like, that's my sound. That's my pattern. And then once I realized that was my pattern, my sound and pattern, then I started really intentionally using those things when I write, when I produce, when I arrange. Yo, PJ Morton has a certain sound. When you hear him, he has go-to changes, Mike Burrell has go-to, you know what I mean? You start paying attention. Aaron Lindsay has these go-to type movements he does. So it's a part of studying people who you listen to, but also studying yourself.
Right.
Push record on yourself as much as you can. And you'll start discovering patterns like, oh shoot, that's me. Kevin Powell got a sound. Like, you know what I mean? I noticed that when I hear the Doobie, they got a sound. Like, there's certain jokers that they got a sound. And then there's certain people who haven't figured it out. Jacob Collier has a sound. Corey Henry has a sound. And study people with a sound and see what it is that makes that sound. Like, you know what I mean? So that's James Poyser. Oh my God. He got a sound like nobody business. You hear it in all his productions and stuff like that. So it's just an amalgamation of a number of things. It's not just one thing that makes it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's great advice.